guys, welcome back to the homestead. Today I'm going to show you how I quickly preserve all of those beautiful beets that we harvested about a week ago. It's time for me to get these in the freezer, and this is the fastest, most delicious way that I think I preserve my beets. I don't usually can most of my vegetables. I like to freeze them so I can use them in different recipes throughout the year. Let me show you how I preserve my beets the easiest way. The first thing you want to do is wash all of the beets and peel them. I've washed and peeled all of my beets. You can see here like this. I'm gonna chop them now into small pieces. You wanna keep them about even sizes. It's up to you how big, how thin you want them. I'm gonna slice these actually quite thin, and then we're gonna get them into the water to blanch, which is the next step. So I just quickly peel the beets like this first. I chopped off all of the greens. You can use the greens in here as well, but we usually don't use the greens. Okay, so I'm just gonna slice them to pieces like this. And you can see how beautiful my beets are. They're not just the regular red beets. These are the striped beets. They're very beautiful. You can leave your beets whole or slice them in half. Just make sure you boil them for a little bit longer if you leave them whole. And then I'm just gonna put them in my plate here. So I'm gonna do that to all of these beets. Best way is to slice them in half, like that. And then you can just kind of do smaller slices like this. Once you get to the very end, you flip it over, so it's a lot easier for you to slice. Okay, let's finish these off and we'll move on to the next step. So this is the beets once they're all peeled and sliced. Aren't they so beautiful? So let's move on to blanching these beets in some hot salted water. Step 2 is to add the beets to a pot of boiling water. I poured half of the beets in here and I'm just bringing this up to a boil, and we're gonna boil it for a few minutes. So while I'm here doing this preservation video, I thought I would give you a quick little onion preservation tip. The only thing I do to preserve my onions and garlic as well, it's very simple. I get a cardboard box with holes so that there's circulation. And I just put all of the onions in this cardboard box here. This one I just pulled yesterday. So you wait till all of the tops have browned. Once they're all brown, you can just put these in a cool, dark place under your cupboard or in a root cellar or in a cupboard that's gonna stay nice and dark. And I did this with the garlic as well. And it's the same technique. Once they're completely dry, then you can store them in your cupboard. Just make sure all of these tops are dry and crunchy and they're not green like this one. Next thing I'm going to do is also preserve my peppers. I'm gonna pick a few more of the peppers over the next few days, and I'm gonna do the same thing that I did with the beets, which is blanch, chop, and freeze them. That's the best way I preserve my peppers. That way I can just grab a handful of chopped frozen peppers and just toss them into my recipes as I need them. The tomatoes will get made into just tomato sauce, and that way I can customize it to pizza sauce or paste or whatever I need. And then the potatoes just kind of hang out until we're ready to use them, and we use them as we need. My cucumbers, I'm going to actually make them into a relish. That's the most delicious way I like preserving my cucumbers. I don't really like pickles too much. I'll make 1 or 2 jars, you know, for the year. But mostly I like to make relish with the cucumbers. So I'll show you guys how to make a cucumber relish in the next episode, but that's also one great way of preserving your cucumbers. But that's just another way of preserving without using pressure canners or dehydrators or any special equipment. Okay, so now the beets have boiled for a few minutes. They're tender. You just want to make sure the beets, once they're done boiling or blanching, that they're a bit tender. So I'm just gonna pour it in and drain it out. Strain that all out. get my second batch in here. Okay, let's move to the next step. All right, here I have just a little baking sheet, baking pan. I'm just going to pour the beets out and spread them out. They're pretty hot right now, so I'm just gonna use a fork. I'm gonna lay them on a single layer. If you're doing these with whole or half beets, it's gonna take a lot longer, so you're gonna have to boil them longer and freeze them longer. I like to do it like this because then I can use them in pretty much anything. My Chioggia striped beets are ready to be put in the freezer. But first you want these to cool completely down to room temperature. So I'll see you back in about an hour or so once these are partially frozen. Okay, so now they're semi-frozen, not completely, but frozen enough. Now that they're frozen, I'm gonna get them into this giant Ziploc bag here, and then I'm gonna lay them flat, because you wanna lay them flat so you can stack the bags. That way you can preserve more, but not take up all the space in your freezer. Flat now. Now I'm gonna get the second batch. I can label these and then put the date on here as well, so I know when I made these. And then I'm just gonna pop this in the freezer, and they're ready, and they'll be in the freezer ready to go for whenever you want them. So now you have beets for the next year, or at least for the next winter, until you start growing beets again in the spring. Very simple, easy way to preserve food, and it doesn't take any special equipment or any special preserving techniques. It's very simple. All right guys, well that was it. Thank you so much for preserving beets with me today. I hope you enjoy my recipe, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay peaceful. Bye.